Hi, this is Dr. Pike again for LDR430, and the book is once again Judgment and Managerial Decision Making by Bazerman and Moore. This is Chapter 8, Fairness and Ethics in Decision Making. In the introduction notes to the chapter, we see that fairness and ethics are essential to a complete understanding of decision making. Ethical judgments can be biased, usually in self-serving ways and often without our awareness. Perceptions of fairness. Most fairness research avoided making evaluative statements about the rationality of fairness judgments. Cognitive processes create anger, jealousy, and inefficiency. Perceptions of fairness continued. To reduce or eliminate dysfunctional perceptions of fairness, one needs to confront the rationality of fairness perceptions, or one's biases. Fairness considerations inhibit pay reductions, inflexibility in consumer prices, supply and demand, and economic self-interest. A lot of people say business is business. Individuals are concerned with departures from the status quo and that economically justifiable actions will often be perceived as unfair. Interpretations of fairness are clearly influenced by the framing effects that we've explored previously within the text. When we resist unfair ultimatums, sometimes we await fair results. We think that circumstances could change. Participants will endeavor to sway the outcome of an unjust situation through finances or other means while waiting to see if the situation just changes by itself. This chapter also covers the dictator game. During the dictator game, it's the prospect of us prospering, and we can decide how the resources are split without the other person saying that it's okay to do it. So we dictate the terms of the arrangement. Many people intuit that it is not difficult to sacrifice a few dollars to punish an unfair allocation in the ultimatum game, but that people would behave more rationally if the stakes were sufficiently high. Fairness appears to be a universal concept affecting decisions, but implementation of fairness depends on cultural norms as well as gender norms as well as societal norms. We look through the lens of what we've been enculturated to see. When we're concerned about the outcomes of others, individuals exhibit concern for how their own rewards compared to those of relevant others and also show resulting changes in their own behavior. This is the keeping up with the Jones mentality. The neighbor gets the brand new car, so we must get the brand new car. The neighbor gets a desert landscape installed in the front of their place. We have to do the same. It replicates itself in the corporate world in that individuals must have a Rolex, they must have a BMW if they're executives. Our perceptions of fair comparison of wage are related to the profitability of a given firm and what other individuals in closely related jobs can earn. Now you'll see this in government applications where they publish the salaries of individuals. Moreover, you'll see it in websites like Glassdoor, where they show you what an executive of a given company can make during a given time span. When we're concerned about the outcomes of others, assessing one option at a time, social comparisons serve as reference points we can use to assess our own outcomes, our own goal, our own trajectory. Assessing multiple options, it is easier to compare across options and disregard the less useful comparison to others. It's the norm of equality, the fairness of a consequence. So we've worked 20 years and we have this to show for it. Why do fairness judgment matter? People will judge you by observing your fairness and your social comparison. Moreover, you'll find that people will judge you in places where you don't think you're going to be judged, by the way that you conduct yourself, your conversations, the way your family behaves, how they're dressed. This is why it's important as a leader to be fair. And I would add consistent. Bounded ethically. Ethical issues concern how we judge our own behavior and its consistency with our own values. When we're talking about the conscious and the subconscious, we need to be able to assess blame or be able to, I suppose, assess our behaviors in a specific way. If something's done in an unconscious manner, it may be able to be corrected, and there may not be the social stigma associated with making stereotypical decisions against a given party. Limitations of the conscious mind and emphasizes the power of the unconscious mind to motivate us to engage in unethical behavior. We've learned throughout the book that decisions and biases can mostly be self-serving, and we have to be on the lookout for those self-serving tendencies or traits that we can exhibit to limit others for our own personal gain, our own personal motivations. Bounded ethically refers to the psychological processes that lead people to engage in ethically questionable behaviors that are inconsistent with their own preferred ethics. Now, I know if pressed, we can all come up with at least one example of this, and it's something to be aware of as you move forward in your own leadership roles, that your ethics are very important and you need to know where the line is drawn. Overclaiming credit. And this is another key area where I'm certain other people can have examples from their own personal work life or just their personal interactions with others. Even honest people tend to believe they contributed more to an enterprise than they actually did. They actually attribute this to a study that was conducted within the text. In group settings, overclaiming can be it can have a negative impact on the longevity of a group. The overclaiming of credit may be more about bias than dishonesty, which means that it could be more about the unconscious mind than it is about the conscious efforts to belittle the efforts of others. In group favoritism, we tend to identify with people who are a lot like us. We are more comfortable doing favors for those whom we identify than those noticeably different than us. Differences can include nationality, religion, race, gender, or alma mater. In the process of meeting someone, our mind automatically activates the stereotypes of the other person's race, sex, and age. It is an unconscious process and not an ethical value assessment. The behavior is automatically and it's consciously suppressed. We may have explicit intentions that are lying below the surface when we judge the value of another person upon meeting them. Indirectly unethical behavior. And we can summarize this section by just calling it an omission. Remaining willfully ignorant of the larger consequences of choices allows one to choose selfishly. Plausible deniability is what they call this in political arenas and in executive boardrooms, especially when it comes to issues where litigation is pending and you have a vicarious liability. Sometimes that liability can exist by failure to act, and playing ignorant of the situation can save an organization or save a political aspiration when it's exposed. Keeping oneself ignorant about the possible negative repercussions of one's selfish behavior might, at least in some circumstances, be in one's selfish interest. Value pluralism. When values seem sacred, the world rarely allows us to hold a single principle as sacred. Now I claim we, I'm not speaking for everyone, but we, the people that I associate with, have a Christian worldview. And that worldview is challenged at times, if not aggressively. But we hold to that worldview. But what the authors of the text are saying in this is that life is difficult. It's a big world and has many views. There are multiple choices, and we, again, as Christians, we, the people that feel like me, balance one value against another. Doesn't mean that we react in the way that others would. It's moreover an ethical system hierarchy. What you display, who you are as a person, and what you want at the end of your life is how we Christians conduct ourselves in day-to-day situations. The psychology of conflicts of interest. This is the receipt of personal benefits outweighing what is best for an employer, an organization, or society. Virtually all humans tend to view data from a self-serving perspective, and we've learned that throughout the chapters of the book. Motivated blindness. When people have an incentive not to notice data, they are able to overlook it. And that's what we were talking about a slide ago. I want to say thank you. This is the end of Chapter 8. We're going to be moving on to Chapter 12, and this is going to be finishing the Baserman and